Hockey time in Minnesota's capital city for the second time in 6 days. Last year's foes in the Walter Cup final squaring off, the Fleet and the Frost. Boston fresh off its takeover tour win against Montreal in Seattle. Taylor Heisey, her line is going to start. It's going to be Emma Soderberg getting the start in net. Shea Maloney's line will start. There's Maddie Rooney, good numbers. 2.25 goals against, save percentage a little over 90%. She was scratched last Thursday night against Boston, hoping for a good showing here tonight on home ice. As Heisey comes into the Boston zone and decides to wrap it around to the near wing side. Flipped out in front by Curl off the skate of Heisey as she went cruising through the slot.
Seemed intentional. She didn't really have a great chance to get her stick on it, so she thought, well, let me see if I can get a body part on it. And the Frost get an early one towards the net.
Here is Kava in that corner. Minnesota in second place, even though they are tied with Montreal at 14 points apiece. Montreal has a game in hand. Montreal and Toronto tonight in Vancouver in that takeover tour game. So a lot riding in the PWHL tonight.
And Boston is playing much better hockey. We talked to Coach Courtney Kessel about that, and she said, you know, it was nice to get the point against Minnesota, even though they lost in overtime. And then they find a way to win in the shootout after that. So they're trending in the right direction and could really climb the standings if they start to pick up more points here.
There's Rooney out of her cage. Plays it to the near wing. Minnesota's able to clear the zone. Here's Megan Keller, team high 8 points on a 4-game point streak. Boston gains the line, gets it in deep. Shishaba from Minnesota, tied up against the wall. Onto the stick of Lee Steckline. She'll swing it in behind for her D pair Batherson, and this is going to drift in on the goaltender Rooney, who sticks it aside. Just getting started here in St. Paul. 2 one-goal losses so far for this Boston team against this Minnesota squad. It's been tough going at times for Courtney Kessel and her crew, but she really likes how the team is playing. On the backhand, Coyne Schofield flipped it on. Steered away by Soderberg, and then the drive from the circle, she's able to smother.
And on such a long road trip as well, she's pleased with the way they've played, which it's not always tough to hit the road for that long, but she's seen results.
This is waved off on the icing. Claire Thompson goes back to play at 10 points, tied for the league lead with Alex Carpenter of New York. What a first year in the league for Claire Thompson. There's Rooney again. On the near wing to Bookbinder. She nearly had it poked off her stick and turned it over.
Not a mistake Natalie Bookbinder makes often, but is able to regroup before that puck was completely stolen away.
Bookbinder, the defender from University of Wisconsin, turning 26 later this month. Slid along the wall, near wing side. Crosses the blue line, go back to get it here. Taylor Girard, another player for Boston who's looking to break out. There are a few players, as you mentioned. I think the one especially that they want to see finally find the net is Alina Mueller.
Yeah, she's still looking for her first point this season, and she was one of the biggest scorers of last year's PWHL, and for some reason she hasn't been able to find the back of the net yet. She's had her chances. She's racked up a handful of shots on net in some of these games, but she's just not getting the results yet. And now you're about 8 games in or so, and you're wondering, when is it going to happen?
Well, Boston just got its first shot on goal. It was from Tapani. Rebound left out there by Rooney, but nobody trailing on the play. There's another long drive. Knight right out in front. Rebound, they score. Hannah Bilka, the rookie from Texas, with her 3rd goal of the year, and Boston draws first blood.
Well, we were talking about all the players who played well for Boston this season in our Open, and we didn't get a chance to talk about Hannah Bilka, but she gives us a chance to talk about it here, and it's a chaotic sequence out front. Maddie Rooney tries to go for the poke check here on Hillary Knight, and the puck ends up on the side of the net, and Maddie Rooney never really makes full contact with this puck. She keeps swatting away. A couple of defenders converge there, and Bilka finds it on the side of the net, and Rooney was all worried about Knight out front. She left the back door wide open, and Bilka made her pay the price.
Boy, Bilka's really starting to heat up as Minnesota swarms the Boston net. Good pressure by Boston. Now Minnesota coming back. Tipped on and just wide. That was Heisey knifing in with a ton of speed, and it was played beautifully by Emma Soderberg.
Oh, Minnesota almost gets the response they're looking for. 6 shots on net so far, but held off the scoreboard for now. They need a good start to this game, Clay, after coming off getting shut out. You don't want to go too much longer without getting another goal.
Boston looking for more. Rooney looking for the whistle. Still loose. Boston says they have scored, and there's the signal. Wow, 2-0 Fleet.
Well, Rooney was knocked over, and nobody really reacted to it, so it made me question what I saw. It's Maloney who's credited with the goal. The officials will converge here, but that's Alina Mueller who's out front. And let's see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the officials are talking, Clay. It looked worse in real time to me than it does on the replay here, but there was definitely some contact there with Rooney. Yeah, I mean, that overhead view is great. Thank you to our crew for that angle. That kind of shows Mueller knocking Rooney in the chest, but it looks like we're going to play on. Everybody's out at center ice except for the Minnesota Frost.
Yeah, so they are going to look at it again for possible goaltender interference that at times Boston has been lacking. Alina Mueller, you mentioned it just moments ago, no points on the season. Shea Maloney has been up.
After video review, the call on the ice is overturned due to have no goal.
Yeah, they agree with you, Alexis. So Maloney stays on 1 goal for the season. Off the draw, Rister goes past the goal for Britta Curl. Back from her 1-game suspension.
Now these next couple shifts for Minnesota are critical. If you can get a 2-goal swing here, the overturn plus the goal scored on the other side of the ice, that's a big, big swing. We'll see if they can do it.
Channel Watkins plays it across. One-timer by Flaherty is knocked down. And Boston able to clear the zone. Sophie Shirley trying to spring herself. And Minnesota too quick to get back on it. Here comes Channel Watkins again. Melissa had an assist last Thursday against Boston. Still no career goals. You know, and you talk about Minnesota from the blue line. They've got Claire Thompson, especially with the assists. But right now looking for more offense from the blue line. Who's going to be that offense for the team in purple?
Yeah, just 1 goal scored from the blue line this season so far for Minnesota. That was something they did really well last year, Clay. Really supplemented the forwards with the scoring from the blue line. Of course, it's difficult when you've got Sophie Jakes out. She's such a big piece of that. Claire Thompson's starting to carry a little bit of that load, but Lee Steckline, a veteran in this sport and profession, just 1 point on the season. So they're looking for more players in that regard to step up here.
Lexia Gia, 4th-line center, will dump it in for the Fleet. And they'll make a line change. 13.5 to go. Opening period, 1-0 Boston on a goal by rookie Hannah Bilka. Now turned over to Tapani, close range. Blocker saved there by Rooney.
If I'm the Frost, I don't know if I'd turn the puck over to Tapani right now. She's having a heck of a week, and including a few big ones against Minnesota already this week.
3-time Finnish Olympian. Doing well against Minnesota this season. From a shallow angle, here's Tapani again, plays it back. Long drive, that was blocked. Back under stick of Jessica DiGirolamo, the former Syracuse captain, in behind the net now. High in the slot. Hillary Knight kept it low to the ice. No rebound. Snuffed out by Rooney. And we're going to step aside. Boston coming off that shootout win over Montreal and Seattle. They're keeping the momentum up. Jump out to the 1-0 lead early in St. Paul. Only the 3rd time this season that Minnesota hasn't scored first in a game, down 1-0 to approach the midway point of the first period. Here's Lee Steckline swinging back behind Maddie Rooney. Starts it up on the near wing side for the Frost, down a goal. Boston earned points in each of their last 2 games, now trying for its first regulation win since December the 17th, a 3-2 home win against Ottawa. 3 points to the winner in regulation. Here's Brown, former University of Minnesota star. Back on defense again tonight, wearing number 2 in the white sweater. Locked up along the wall, it pops free to Brown, and she'll slide it ahead at center. And that's going to go all the way deep into the Minnesota zone. This is Teresa Schaafsal trying to play keep away. Minnesota intercepts. They'll angle it out. With 11:45 to go here, opening period. Shots are even at 6 apiece.
And you talked about the fact that Minnesota hasn't allowed the first goal that many times this year. Boston, on the flip side, have only scored first 3 times. In 2 of those, they came away with regulation wins. So
the assist, by the way, on the Bilka goal at 3:40, Hillary Knight and Daniela Pejshova. And we talked about Hillary Knight at the top of the broadcast, Alexis. When she's going hot, look out.
Yeah, and she's had such a great start to this season. And for a while, she was really the only player who was picking up points for this Boston team. Now she's starting to get some help with a couple other players stepping up, like we've seen Tapani do this week, Keller, Bilka. But she's someone who's been there, done that at all levels of the game. And when a player like her is playing well, they're tough to stop.
Pejshova takes a big hack at it. Comes to the near wall. Knight will play it back to the D. Pejshova plays it across, and it's tipped out of the zone by Keller. Driven right back in by Minnesota's Flaherty. Boston trying to break out. Long head pass. Here's Gia. Has some room on the near wing. Trying to steer away around Channel Watkins. Floats over to the far wing side. DiGirolamo carried it in deep. Turns it over to Minnesota. Channel Watkins with some room. Lead pass ahead for Himralova. A little bit too high. DiGirolamo takes a shot at it. And they're able to work it out. Minnesota still leading in goals per game, 3.25. Ken Klee expects them to be just fine, even though they were shut out in their last game. Shut out for the first time this season by New York on Saturday. And you'll remember on Thursday against Boston, Alexis, they didn't score until the second period. It took a while for them to get going, and that's when they got 2 in 43 seconds.
Yeah, it was a couple bunches of scoring in that game, with Minnesota getting 2 quick ones and then Boston getting 2 quick ones later in the game. But then they come up empty against the New York Sirens. When Minnesota played Boston about a week ago, they were averaging 3.6 goals per game. That's gone down, as you mentioned, about half a goal per game since then. Of course, getting shut out doesn't help, but Minnesota needs to try to find this next goal, because now you've gone about a period or a game and half a period of being shut out. You're missing some of your star players. You don't want to lose that confidence if you can't score.
Schaafsal takes it right to the goal mouth. Loose in the corner. Boston trying to set up. Looking to turn it toward the middle. This is Megan Keller. Shishova trying to move it out for Minnesota. Frost bottled up a little bit. Now guided out of the zone by Minnesota. Point Schofield gets it ahead to Panic. She'll go right to the goal, and they score on the rebound. Denisa Shishova. Her first point since the season opener.
Well, that's the response that the Minnesota Frost needed, and Shishova goes straight to the net and is able to get her stick on this one. She had 3 goals last season, gets her first here. It's Panic who sends that first shot in, and Soderberg doesn't see Shishova on the back door, can't get there in time, I should say, and she's able to get this one tied up. And Panic was trying to sneak that one past the glove side, and Soderberg makes the first save, but can't stop the second chance by Shishova, who gets the Minnesota Frost back in this one. A much-needed goal. And I know that sounds a little silly because it's the first period, it's a 1-1 game, but knowing how Minnesota finished that last game, they definitely needed that one to get a little bit of their mojo back.
First goal of the year for Shishova. Panic, primary assist, 11:40 the time here in the first. Native of Czechia, one of the players that they've been looking to break out offensively. And that was a great timing play on that rebound.
Absolutely it was, and that's what half of a good rebound play is the timing. And She was able to find that puck, get her stick on it, and bang it home before Soderberg could get over there. And keep in mind, Soderberg's only playing her second game of the season. So just like we talked about in the last game against the New York Sirens with Lucy Morgan getting her first career start, Minnesota could try to use this to their advantage today against a goaltender who hasn't seen much action yet this season.
We're also going to give an assist to Kendall Coyne-Schofield. She now has 8 points on the season, one of the league leaders. Right near the top. An assist this season again for the Minnesota captain as we go under 7 minutes to play in the opening period. Back here in the Boston zone, Emily Brown. You know, so many of these Minnesota players, former teammate with Heise and of course Zumwinkle, who's out again tonight. Doesn't sound like she's going to be out too long, but we've got her listed essentially day to day as this comes back deep into the Boston end. Tied up in the corner. 6.5 to go, 1 apiece now. Looking over her shoulder, Soderberg, the former great at the University of Minnesota Duluth. Also a member of Team Sweden. Shannon Watkins back in the corner. Katie Knoll overskated it for the Frost. And jumping on the loose puck is Taylor Girard for Boston. Here's Girard again at the checkered line. Rink-wide pass, nobody there for the Fleet. Minnesota tried to get it back into the Boston zone, and now it's intercepted and flipped up out of play, and some tempers. Himralova just shoved Megan Keller out in front of the Boston bench. I don't know if anything's going to come of it, but Denisa Shisheva tying this one up at 1. 5:55 to go here in the first.
Back at the XL Energy Center here with head coach Courtney Kessel. Coach, an answer moment ago from Minnesota, but you have been really pleased with the direction your team has been heading in the last couple of games. How important was that early goal and the early pressure to keeping that going?
Yeah, it's great to get the first goal. You know, it gives us a little bit of momentum, but we got to keep going here.
Kick save by Soderberg. Minnesota holding it in with Claire Thompson. From the corner, Panic trying to turn it toward the front. Maloney took a whack at it. Boston able to get it to the line, but not out. Held in. Here's Coyne-Schofield. Kendall driven up against the wall by Peyshova. Look at Coyne-Schofield. Just great stick handling to play keep away. Now drops it down for Panic, who will cycle it back to the near wing side. Sophie Shirley, the first one there for Boston. She is pushed down. And now finally the Fleet will be able to come up for air. You mentioned it. Game 5 of a 6-game road swing for Boston. Their longest trip of the season. That will certainly galvanize the group. You get to know each other really quick.
Yeah, including that game in Seattle. And
now we got
Boston
a penalty.
taking a penalty here. There was a hit in the corner. I think it was Heise who was slow to get up.
Extra attacker is on for Minnesota. Curl swings it around for Cava as Minnesota tries to set up, but they're not going to have a chance. Minnesota forward Taylor Heise just drew a boarding penalty from Alina Mueller, so the Frost get the first power play of the night.
Yeah, it was a heavy hit in the corner on the numbers. Heise doesn't see her coming, and she gets thrown into the dasher there. So the Minnesota Frost, their power play has slipped a little bit the last couple games played. They could really use a power play goal here, but they're going up against a really good penalty kill, second in the league at 83.9% for Boston.
Steckline holds it in. Power play brought to you by Royale Tiger Towel, paper towel, power through the fight. From the circle, drop down low, trying to jam it in. Coyne-Schofield kept out by Soderberg, chased down in the corner by Shisheva. There's another that Soderberg got a piece of. Shisheva gets it back to the blue line for Steckline. She'll hold it in. Coyne-Schofield to the circle for Kelly Panic. Panic gets it back to Lee Steckline, who's quarterbacking up at the top. Panic tried to tip that one on. Went well wide. Here's Coyne-Schofield from the end line. A minute to go in the power play for Minnesota. First of the game for either side. Here's Himralova. Back for Coyne-Schofield. Shisheva. The game-tying goal earlier in the period. Centered. On. Save made by Soderberg. Was looking for the loose puck, and it was over her shoulder. 35 seconds to go in the advantage for Minnesota. Shot from a shallow angle for Shisheva. And that went through the blue paint and onto the near wing side and back out of the zone.
Well, that's why you got to hit the net. Minnesota had sustained pressure for the entirety of that first minute and a half of the power play. And one missed shot, and they got to regroup now with just 20 seconds left.
Liz Sheppers lugs it in, quickly taken away, back to the Minnesota blue line. Just 10 seconds to go in this advantage. Minnesota trying to make something out of the first power play of the game. Bouncing puck at the line, and now Boston intercepts. They'll clear it, and that's going to do it. Officially 2 shots on goal on that Minnesota power play. What were your thoughts on that one?
I like the setup. I think they could have sent a few more towards the net. They forced Soderberg to make a tough save early in the power play, but they never really got another look as good as that one the rest of the way out. But just the first power play of the game for either team, and a decent one for Minnesota.
Tapani has been lurking near the net all game long. He's got it again. Here's Bilka dropping it back for Hillary Knight. Knight, wrist shot off the post. Loose puck. Minnesota's going to pounce on it. Not able to clear as Thompson bobbled it, but Hillary Knight drawing iron.
Well, Rooney had that angle tied up pretty nicely, and Knight fires one off the outside of the pipe there. Boston looking for a quick response here after killing off the penalty. An early period goal Minnesota gave up against the New York Sirens the last time around, and said those 2 were just the back-breaking goals that his team gave up that ultimately did them in that New York Sirens game. They can't afford to give up a late one here against Boston.
Minnesota very happy, though, to have Rooney back in net. Steady goaltender. Not that Lucy Morgan didn't do an admirable job in that loss to New York, but it was an emergency start, and it was her first career game. And imagine it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and I don't think any of the 5 goals that Minnesota allowed in that game were the fault of Lucy Morgan. The first one was tipped in off a Minnesota skate, and then just some really good goals that we saw the rest of the way out. So sometimes there's not much you can do as a goaltender, and Lucy Morgan got thrown into a tough situation and got scored on by some really good goal scorers in this league.
Final seconds of the period, one last rush. Bilka's not going to get a shot off. So Bilka with her 3rd of the year to get the scoring started for Boston. Shisheva, her 1st of the season, ties it up for Minnesota at the 11:40 mark. We'll get a tie game going to the 2nd tonight. So here we go. Just moments away from the start of the 2nd period. Minnesota 14 points in the league. That's tied with Montreal. Both of those teams in action tonight. Obviously, as we just talked about, Boston has received points in the last 2 games. That's a good start tonight. Pani takes that draw against Taylor Heisey. Top line for Minnesota is out there first. Keller goes back behind Emma Soderberg. Soderberg made her first start of the year at Montreal just ahead of the new year, a 3-1 loss. Said it before, Aaron Frankel, one of the best goaltenders in the world, getting the night off tonight. Just needs a breather. It's been a long road trip. They played a lot of games away from home.
And Coach Courtney Kessel has a lot of faith in all 3 of the goaltenders on this Boston Fleet roster, so was very comfortable putting Soderberg in between the pipes. She went 4-3-0 last season in her starts with the Boston Fleet. And as I mentioned, she's already picked up a couple wins in her PWHL career against this Minnesota Frost team.
At center, advanced by Boston. Jamie Lee Rattray coming in. Close range shot, rebound. Couple of shots at it out in front. Brandt whacking at it. And the Fleet can't bury it. They had some grade A opportunities.
Maddie Rooney was way out of her crease to challenge that, which is what made the initial shot so tricky. And then a couple of Frost players collide into the paint there to cover up any empty space to help Rooney out, and Minnesota survives. Almost gave up another quick goal to start the period.
This could be an icing. 10 points on the year for Thompson. That one kicked away by Soderberg. Think about Thompson, too. All those assists. She's got 9 on the year as she holds the zone on the left side. She has assisted 7 different goal scorers for the Frost.
So she's finding chemistry with just about everybody out on the ice, which is always a great sign.
Here she is again, throws it down into the circle, was trying to set up something for Liz Sheppers. She was neutralized, and it pops out of the zone.
And that's especially a great sign when you've got a situation like Minnesota has with different lineups every night, different lines every night, and the fact that she can go out there and doesn't matter who's playing with her, she can find ways to contribute and get in on the action. That's great.
Oh, Morin turned it over out in front. Shot handled by Soderberg. Poked back into the zone by Flaherty. Now Boston will bring it out, and they'll chop it back to the Minnesota zone. There's a Channel Watkins trying to stay away from the poke check of Shea Maloney. Maloney had a goal waved off in the first period. Channel Watkins cycles it back to her D partner. Flaherty gets it up on the near wing side. Minnesota bottled up. Playing it off the wall. This is going to bounce through center. No icing. It was touched. Up on the dasher. Comes to a wide open wing here on the near side. At the Minnesota line. Batherson played it. Heisey had to take it off her stick. Now Minnesota comes in. Himralova tried to feed it to the front for Kava. She'll track it down. Now to the point for Mae Batherson. Wrist shot. That missed badly. Soderberg was trying to block it, but it was way out of her reach. Now here's Heisey. Free puck. And curls pass to the point out of the reach of Steckline, which is really hard to do as long as her reach is. And long stick comes all the way back to the Minnesota zone. Taylor Heisey will cruise through the neutral zone. On the right wing. Shot. Curl. Didn't get through to the target. Take it back by Boston. Jam it back to the red line. This bounces to the Minnesota zone where Bookbinder feeds a nice pass to the middle. Shisheva couldn't control it. Kept alive by Coyne Schofield. Now here's Panic trying to flip it on. Bookbinder fanned on a shot.
Puck wasn't sitting still for her. She gave it her best effort, but couldn't get everything on it. Good pressure here by Minnesota.
Did she miss it entirely or did it get her heel?
It might have caught the heel. It was hard to tell.
And now Coyne Schofield again. Wrister. Hit her own player. Friendly fire. Shisheva took some of that. Good offense here by Minnesota. Some room. Shisheva backhand. She misfired.
But she drew the penalty. Rooney to the bench for the extra skater.
They won't get time for the extra attacker to come on, but they will go back on the power play. Second of the night for Minnesota, Alexis.
Well, Shisheva had a chance, as we'll hear the call from the official here.
Boston number 5, 2 minutes, please.
Kenworth for hooking.
So here's another look at this Bookbinder whip, and yeah, that just caught the heel of the stick. You can see it rolling. That thing is skittering all the way to the end wall. And then Shisheva draws the penalty moments later. She was trying to cut to some prime real estate, forcing the Boston Fleet to take a penalty, and now Minnesota a chance to have their first lead of the night with a goal here.
Their second Royale Tiger Towel power play. Minnesota 0 for 1, 2 shots on the first advantage. It's going to come back through the neutral zone all the way down. As this will buy some time for the penalty killers for the Fleet. Already 30 seconds gone by.
Minnesota spent most of that first power play in the offensive zone. As you mentioned, only got 2 shots on. Only one of them was a real quality chance. We'll see if they can find the back of the net this time around.
Here's Heisey getting closer to 100% healthy. She played the last game sick against New York. She's in the circle, plays it across. Shot, didn't get through. Hit some traffic in front. Rattray will send it out. It'll bounce all the way in on Rooney.
Well, Himlarova waited just a second too long to shoot that puck, and that's all it takes in the professional league to give everybody a chance to get over there. And by the time she fired that puck, that lane was clogged up.
And Himlarova tried to settle that puck coming down the slot, but it's off her stick and it rolls in on Soderberg. Shisheva, blistering shot. Wide of the near post. Karams all the way back. Steckline will track it down.
And it's not a stat you can exactly track, but a lot of that is probably because the no escape rule implemented into the league this year, where the team that takes the penalty has to keep their line on the ice for that first face-off. So not always getting the matchups you want, or you have tired players out there, allowing more opportunities for the power play unit.
Shishima battling Brown. Steckline from center. Gets it back into the Boston zone, but it's quickly pumped right back out. And that's going to do it for the Minnesota power play. They did not get a shot on. Shishima, the last time she touched the puck near the goal mouth, tried to make an extra pass, and maybe she shouldn't have. So Minnesota 0 for 2 on the power play. McQuigg, and poked off her stick. Battle for it along the wall, in the corner now. Budarak tried to move it for Minnesota. Here's Sheppers. Sheppers cycles it back down. And Peyshova tried to clear the zone. She fanned on that clearing attempt, gets another chance. And now hands off for Bilka. Here's Hannah Bilka with a goal tonight, looking for more. 3-on-2 for Boston. And Tapani a little slow, joining that rush. They keep it alive. Bilka off on the far wing. Couple of 19s doing battle there. Bilka gets a shot on, and it's off the shoulder of Rooney up into the protective mesh. We step aside. Minnesota comes up empty on a power play. It's still 1 apiece.
Still a tie game here in the middle frame, all knotted up at 1. Now tonight, Boston is playing in its 5th straight game away from home ice, and they still have 1 more to go. Earlier today, head coach Courtney Kessel told me that yes, there is definitely a value in the camaraderie that comes with all of that time you spend together on the plane and in the hotel. And in this stretch, she's really seeing her team buying in and playing for each other. Now, Boston was a designated home team Sunday in Seattle, so they're technically still looking for their first road win. And forward Hannah Brandt told me, yeah, it is frustrating, but they're trying to not put too much weight on it, just taking things a day at a time. But guys, she also said, yeah, road trips are really fun, but we are ready to be home, and a couple points in a regulation win could go a long way in helping the grind of being away from home.
All right, Audra, thanks. Yeah, that win Sunday was their first not in their home arena since Game 4 of the finals last year, right here in St. Paul against Minnesota.
Well, those Boston fans, I'm sure, are excited to see this team on home ice again, and they've got a great fan base there in Boston, and hopefully when this Boston Fleet team comes back home, they're a little further up the standings than they were when they left.
Good rink-wide pass from Curl to Kava. Kava on the back check. Keller did a nice job to push her outside enough. Bookbinder still got a shot on.
But what a heads-up play by Kava. She didn't have the shot or the angle, so she just dropped it back knowing there was going to be a trailer in a purple jersey, and she made the most of the play anyway. That play looked like it wasn't even going to happen, and Kava is able to get the pass over for the shot.
Megan Keller out of Farmington, Michigan. As Mueller comes in on the backhand to the forehand, got a shot on. And a save by Manny Rooney. Let's go back to that Kava chance.
And she's tied up so well, and she knows Heisey's behind her, so she figures, well, I can either not get this shot on or see if Heisey can do it for me. And she drops the pass off, and Heisey rips one.
That was Heisey, not Bookbinder. 7, not 2. Skips over to the near wing here in the Minnesota zone. Sophie Shirley, the former Badger. Plays it back for Mueller, out of her reach. Swatted at by Minnesota. They can't get it out. Coming in to support the puck is Panic. Trying to get it ahead to Shishima. Boy, this line is seeing a ton of ice time in this game for the Frost, as Rooney's going to make no mistake. Second start of the year. Bouncing puck back in the Minnesota zone, chased down by Bookbinder. She'll survey. Race away from Maloney. Lead pass just out of the reach of Bryant. Knoll gets to it for Minnesota. There's Maloney again for Boston. Stick fighting there with Brooke Bryant. play to the point for Minnesota. Broken up. Shot didn't get on toward the net. As it was Babstock who stood in the way. Kelly Babstock back from her one-game suspension. She's currently on a 10-day contract for the Boston Fleet. She was originally signed right after Mueller got hurt in that Minnesota game on the road.
Yeah, both her and Curl received suspensions in the last Boston versus Minnesota game, both for separate incidents, and Curl playing in her first game back here today. And Babstock back in action as well.
Here's some room for Taylor Heise. Look out. Heise coming in. Picked up by Keller. That's going to be a penalty on Megan Keller. As both players go into the end boards, Heise slow to get up. Keller is on a knee, and she is up on her skates. And for the third time tonight, Alexis, a power play for the Frost.
Well, and Heise's been knocked around a little bit here tonight. You hope she's okay, as Minnesota will have a chance once again here to take the lead. Going on to the power play, tied up at 1 apiece.
Minnesota head coach Ken Klieg. Ken, a low-scoring affair, all knotted up at 1. What are you looking for from your team to try to gain some separation?
Well, I'd like to obviously put one down on this power play. That'd be big, so we can get shots through, get shots on the net, make her fight for rebounds. That's what we want to do.
Appreciate your time, Coach.
Yeah, both goals tonight have been scored on rebounds, so he's looking for pucks to the net as Keller takes the penalty, hooking at 11:41.
And it seems at times these opportunities out on the ice, they're choosing to try to make the extra play rather than just put the puck on net. And the fact that both goals scored have been rebound goals says everything you need to know. Just throw the puck on net. Right now, these goaltenders are getting beat on rebounds, and Ken Klieg keeping it simple, saying a power play goal would do wonders here. We'll see if Minnesota can get the job done.
Minnesota 1 for 10 on the power play over the last 2+ games. So Royal Tiger Towel power play. Power through the fight. Minnesota 0 for 2. Couple of shots on goal on the first power play. Oh, there was a chance. Himralova got a hot pass down low. And it comes out of the zone. Boston shorthanded.
Jamie Lee Rattray was able to tie up on the back door to break up that play. So great play defensively.
This is going to skitter back into the Minnesota end. Already a minute gone by on this power play that really has yet to materialize as far as a lot of pressure sustained by Minnesota. They did have a close look for Himralova moments ago. Now here comes Curl on the near wing. Curl takes it right to the front. Backhand centering pass for Kava. Again, she couldn't get a shot on.
And handcuffed her. It was kind of in between her skates, and good heads-up play by Curl to find her, but Kava just can't pull the trigger.
Another rush. Heise has it poked off her stick. Claire Thompson there to help out for Minnesota. Under a half minute to go in this power play for the Frost. Thompson to Heise. Get it to the Boston line, but turned over. And the Fleet send it the length of the ice. 10 seconds to go in this power play for the Frost. See if they have one more rush before Keller comes out of the box. They will not. Here comes Megan Keller. No shots on goal officially for Minnesota. That's 2 advantages in a row for the Frost. Not getting a shot on goal.
Well, Minnesota's winning the special teams battle as far as discipline goes. They're staying out of the box and finding themselves on the power play here tonight. But they're losing the special teams battle as far as capitalizing goes. And if Minnesota loses this game play, we're all going to look back at that box score and circle that over on the power play. And that's going to be the difference in this one if it comes down to it.
Boston dangerous down low. They flutter a pass out in front. Greco kept it down in deep for Boston. Now here's Bilka, the goal scorer for the Fleet. She's going to bring it around the net. Off to the far wing side. Boston controlling the puck as if they're on a power play now. Here's Greco again. Shallow angle broken up. Side of the net. Channel Watkins trying to get it and clear it for Minnesota. Can't do it. Minnesota trying to come up for air.
Really good shift here by the Fleet, putting Minnesota on their heels.
Bilka shoves it over to Hillary Knight. Backhand to Tapani out in front. She was double teamed. Played off to the corner. Now it rolls to the stick at Tapani again. She'll try to regroup. Minnesota looks tired. Here's Peshova. Flipped it toward the middle, and that was not on target. Nor did Bilka settle it down. Boy, what pressure here by Boston.
Minnesota just needs to get to the bench.
Another one knocked down. Minnesota desperately needs to get to the puck and clear it out of the zone. Brown holds it in. Toward the front, Rooney finally.
Last year, Boston won the head-to-head matchup with 3 wins to Minnesota's 2, but this year Minnesota has won both matchups. So we've seen physical games, we've seen fast games, and that inaugural Walter Cup final, I mean, that was one for the books, and what a fun few games that was, as that one went the distance, and looking forward to this rivalry developing over time.
Here's Minnesota coming out of its own zone.
What do you think Clee said on the bench?
Oh boy, you know what? You got to dislodge the puck. Too much puck control for the Fleet. Now how they do that? Yeah, honestly, I expect Boston to be a little fatigued as the long road trip and then the trip all the way out to the West Coast. Minnesota, not so much. This is a long homestand for the Frost.
Absolutely. This is where you want to make your hay, is in front of your home crowd. And I know there's been players in and out of the lineup with injuries and illnesses, but at the end of the day, you're playing where you want to play. You get to go home and sleep in your own bed and eat at your own dinner table and see your families at the end of the day. So this is where you want to play your best hockey. And Minnesota struggled against the New York Sirens, and then today in a 1-1 battle starting to look maybe a little bit tired.
Kimmerlover chips it in deep for the Frost. Left loose. Bard slides it out of the zone for the Fleet. 3.5 to go, second period, tied at 1. Angled back in by Boston. Kimmerlover slams it off the end boards. Here's Katie Knoll, turns, fires, kick saved by Soderberg. That's off the skate of Keller. Boston able to push it out, and then turned right back in by the Frost. Goes airborne and settling it back down in her own zone is Bryant. Lead pass ahead there for Curl. She is slammed up against the wall. Now a chance here for Boston. 3-on-2 down low. Save! And the rebound slides right through the paint. That
was juicy, and nobody home in a white jersey to find that loose puck.
Here comes Britta Curl again for Minnesota the other way. Oh, off the skate of DiGirolamo. And no one there to take advantage of the opportunity for Minnesota. Here's Heisey again. Taylor swings it all the way across for Steckline. Couldn't find her tape. Channel Watkins will dump it in. Minnesota trying to get something going here. A little over 2 minutes to go in the period. Again, Minnesota having a hard time holding the zone at times tonight. And that'll wear you out after a while.
It will. When you're constantly chasing the puck or defending, the game gets a whole lot harder. It's a much easier game when you've got the puck on your stick and you're finding offensive zone time. And right now it looks like maybe both teams are getting a little bit tired, but just a couple minutes to go here in the second period at a 1-1 game. At this point, it's still anybody's game.
Budorak flips it in behind. Budorak supports the puck. Had it poked off her stick by Tapani. This is McQuigg. McQuigg a shot. Blocker save Soderberg.
They gave her a whole lot of room to shoot that puck, and she almost made them pay for it.
Long shot, friendly fire, and Budorak took that one off her shin pad. It's going to carry him all the way back down to the Frost end with 1:09 seconds to go in the period.
A long stretch with no whistle here.
No goals here in the second period. Minnesota, the leading goal-scoring team at 3.25 per game, but coming off a game where they were shut out against New York, won so far tonight, and Boston trying to get points on the road. Bouncing puck, Rooney will see it land harmlessly intermittent. Ken Klee, a Denver native, and he's looking forward to that trip out west. As Shisheva looking for her second goal. Goes down to the ice, no penalty.
Yeah, she was hauled down and no arm up from the official.
Police said he's hoping to hit the slopes when he's out there.
Hey, he said he's getting lots of texts, too, from friends and family saying, hey, when can we see ya?
Said, I don't have as many tickets as you'd think. They're going fast. Chopped in at the blue line by Sydney Morin. Couldn't get it out of the zone for Boston. Final seconds here, period number 2. Now, this is going to be a draw in the second. Who's got the advantage going to the third, Alexis?
I think it's got to be Minnesota. You're on your home ice.
This one's going to be decided late, it feels. 1 apiece after 2. Audra will talk with Hannah Bilka, the Boston goal scorer, coming up, plus a look around the league.
We'll see if this tie will be broken here in this third period. Not surprised, we've seen another close game between these two teams. That seems to be what every game between them looks like.
Do you chalk that up to the fact that they know each other so well? The extensive games last year that carried into the postseason?
I think that's part of it. You can't pull any tricks on a team that knows you inside and out. And these two teams are very familiar with each other, especially that Walter Cup final went all 5 games played. So these two teams have seen each other more than most teams have seen another opponent in this league, and that's definitely a big part of it. When you don't see a team as often, they don't always know what to expect out of you. You don't know what to expect out of them, but when you're familiar with each other, there's no secrets.
And we're underway here in the third at the X in St. Paul. Don't forget, Montreal and Toronto less than an hour away at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. The second stop on the TakeOver Tour. It's going to come your way at 10 Eastern. And we are looking forward to watching that later. Here's a chance out in front. Oh, tied up was Taylor Heisey. She had it right on her stick momentarily. Couldn't fire a shot on.
And that probably felt like a lifetime for Emma Soderberg, watching one of the best shooters in the league get that puck all alone up front, but it just handcuffed her. She couldn't get the shot off.
Here's Kava. Nobody with her. So she'll just slide it into the far corner. Opening minute of the third period. Picked up at the blue line. Coyne Schofield gets it ahead to Shishova, who had the Minnesota goal. We have not had a goal since the 11:40 mark of the first period. Here's Brown. Sends it airborne. This is going to bounce all the way down. And an icing call against Boston. With Aaron Frankel getting a much-deserved rest.
Absolutely. It's not an easy spot to come in when you're playing more of that backup role. You're not seeing frequent starts, and when you do get thrown in, you're going to face a really good team, whoever it is. And Soderberg has done well here tonight to give her Boston team a chance. And maybe part of the decision for Courtney Kessel was that she's played so well against Minnesota in her history, and figured, well, if we're going to throw her in on this road trip, let's do it here against a team that she's familiar with and has had success against. And she's done a good job here tonight. So was Maddie Rooney, back in between the pipes for the first time since being sick. She backed up Lucy Morgan the other night against New York. She had left the rink thinking she wasn't even going to be in the lineup. Hensley gets hurt in warm-ups. They call her back. She was not feeling well and sits on the bench for that game and now gets her first start. So 2 goaltenders in between the pipes for the first time in a little while.
Here's Himralova. Nice move. Throws it on. Katie Knoll was right in front. Now Knoll trying to push her off the puck. DiGirolamo. Minnesota holds it in with Mae Batherson. On the right point, this is Bryant. Brooke Bryant. Shallow angle shot. Rebound. Soderberg left it out there. Turning it on is Steckline. That skips to the far wing side.
Another big rebound chance. That's how the goals have been scored tonight. We've seen a few other opportunities like that, and another chance there for Minnesota on the rebound.
Mae Batherson can't keep it in for Minnesota. Batherson picked up her first career point on Thursday with an assist against Boston. There's Keller. Keller misplayed the puck, and now coming back the other way, Sheppers ran into the official. Bad break for the Frost. Shot on. Himralova smothered, and the former Buckeye runs into the official skate and lands on the ice chute.
And she's got 2 assists so far this year, which is almost what her total was last year, 3 assists. So she's picked up a few points in the first handful of games here, but still looking to find the back of the net.
Oh, turned over out in front. Shot goes wide for Tapani. Now here's Shepers again, who gathers it up, moves it across here for Brooke McQuigg. McQuigg for Budarak. Budarak will have to chase it down, throws it in off the back of the Boston net. Here come the Fleet back through center with Susanna Tapani. Picked up at the blue line. And now Britta Curl with some speed. Britta Curl cuts the corner on the backhand, tried to feed the front. Pretty good back check there by the Fleet.
Yeah, great job by Sydney Morin to converge in on Curl and not allow her to cut to the net. She's a physical player, and if she's got a lane, she's going to take it. And Sydney Morin recognizes that and is able to disrupt the play.
Now remember, the last time these two teams met, there were flurries of goals. Both teams scored goals in quick fashion. So we haven't had a goal since midway point of the first period, but they could come in bunches. These teams try to settle in here. 4.5 minutes gone by in the third.
Well, and both teams probably playing desperate in this third period.
Ooh, Shesheva threw it right out in front. Camping on the doorstep there was Panic. She was tied up. Now a chance. Minnesota tipping it on there was Shesheva again. Boy, she's had a great game.
She has been fantastic here tonight. Picks up her first goal of the season to tie this game back in the first and has had a handful of chances since then. We've seen her be able to play like this before. She doesn't always find the consistency of one of the top scorers in the league, but when she's on, she is on, and tonight is one of those nights.
Hannah Brandt, 3 national titles at the University of Minnesota.
So both teams really have something to play for here for different reasons. And I expect that to be a storyline here as this third period carries on.
Another face-off win for Minnesota. They're winning that stat. Here's Coyne Schofield in the corner. Being hounded there by Peshova. Peshova, nice job to separate Coyne Schofield from the puck. And Minnesota blasts it right back in. Side of the net. Peshova to Tapani. Tapani to Keller. Keller with some room will come up, get it to the blue line. They get it out. Hillary Knight overskated it, tried to play it down to her stick. Now, Hillary was very active early on. She's been quiet here through, I don't know, since the early stages of the second period. That's good for Minnesota.
Absolutely. She's done some damage against this team already, and she could be the straw that breaks the camel's back in this one.
Shepers trying to cut around Brown. That was actually Morin. Took it a little bit too wide. They fence forward at the blue line. Now Boston has it here at center ice. Here's Shepers again. She'll feed it back to the D. And Flaherty will reset behind her own net. Now turned over. Here's Babstock with an opportunity for Boston. Just left it there on a platter for Babstock. Kelly driven off the puck. Now here comes McQuigg through center for the Frost. She stood up. Sent back to the Frost line.
If you're Boston, too, I wouldn't be afraid to play physical. You've taken a few penalties, but Minnesota can't score on the power play right now. So that's definitely to Boston's advantage if they want to toe that line and just trust that Minnesota probably won't score a power play goal. You've got the physical advantage in the third period.
Katie Knoll gets it to Bryant. Trying to create a little separation there. Himralova holds it in on the near point. Fed across. Now down low to Himralova. It was between her skates, didn't know it was there.
She was just doing the drive pie in the paint and did not realize where that puck was. By the time she turned around, it was all cleared out. Pace seems to have picked up play. That second period, it was rather mellow. But here in the third, you can feel the energy on the ice. Both teams looking to get that go-ahead goal.
Yeah, both got the memo. Pick it up a little bit. We've seen some good offense here for both sides. Tipped ahead at center. Mueller will fire it in for the Boston Fleet. Here's Bard keeping it in. Off the wall, Bard swings it toward the net. Hit off the bottom of the cage. Minnesota trying to move it out. And they'll do it. Here's Curl. Off that pass from Heisey, she'll just dump it in. Heisey overskates it. Now Mueller taking it back for Boston. Well defended up the middle, though, both teams tonight. There's not a lot of room through the neutral zone.
Yeah, absolutely. The chances that have been generated have happened in the offensive zone. There's been not much going on in that neutral zone. Been very efficient for both teams.
Minnesota native Hannah Brandt. That's swatted away by Rooney. Hannah Brandt, the landlord. Got a couple of residents that are Minnesota Frost players.
It's one of the best storylines I think we've heard this season. That is just so funny to me.
Jakes and Thompson for the Frost are renting from Hannah.
Do they just bring the check to the rink, or how does that work?
I'm not sure. I wonder if they're going to get their damage deposit back.
Probably not.
Here's Greco, former Frost player, played 32 games for Minnesota last year, got it to the far wing side, and it's cleared all the way down by Boston. It's an icing call. Visit shop.thepwhl.com tonight. Alongside Alexis Pearson, I'm Clay Matvick, Audra Martin working ringside. Game tied at 1 as we approach the midway point of period number 3. No goals in the second period.
4 so far in the third. We're already halfway through it. Haven't had a lot of whistles yet.
Here's Bilka to Hillary Knight. Bilka gets the return pass from the captain. That is a dangerous cocktail when you've got those two working in tandem.
And great stick by Batherson to break up the play. Like you said, that's a dangerous line there that can do some damage. And Batherson, the young player on the defensive side, able to break it up.
Stretch pass at Gia, and then tried to feed the slot. Broken up by the Frost. Bouncing puck. Back to the Boston zone. Turned over. McQuigg's got it. She'll keep it in for Minnesota. Now Sheppers shifted off the puck by Gia. And Morin will play it around. Taylor Gerard gets it through center, and this is not going to be an icing. McQuigg just guides it in. Now Gia again, hands off. DiGirolamo splitting the defense. On her backhand, flips it on. And that's what I think Courtney Kessel and Ken Klee, for that matter, wants to see. More pucks on net here as this game is getting long in the tooth. 9:18 to go, tied at 1. We've seen some physical play again tonight. Boston took 5 penalties last Thursday against Minnesota. They've had to kill 3 penalties again tonight.
Yeah, they've stuck to their game. Boston likes to play physical. You can see Babstock shoving Budarak into the bench there. Babstock, one of the most physical players on this Boston team. That's her MO. She loves to play that way, and she'll make you pay if you get in her way. And Minnesota, as physical as they've been at times tonight, they've been very disciplined, and they've been perfect so far as taking penalties goes, and they can't afford to take their first one now because Boston's power play is first in the league coming into tonight's action.
Minnesota out shooting Boston by 1 up to this point, 23-22. They've done a good job in the faceoff circle, and they'll win this one. Point Schofield walks it out to center. Got it back to the Boston line. Keller there for the Fleet. And now over for Sydney Bard. Bard bangs it off the wall here near side, loose at neutral ice. And again, Minnesota comes in to take it away. Nearly turned over. Bard again, swings it across. Nobody home. Hillary Knight on a backhand will just chop it in. He's going to get a foothold here late. Minnesota comes out of the zone, quickly picked up again at center. Bard doing a nice job. Bard on the year, 1 goal, 1 assist out of New Hartford, New York. Doing a nice job on D tonight. Hasn't been involved a lot on the offensive stuff, but has held her own on the blue line. Now here's Mueller, looking for her first point of the year. Alina Mueller pirouetting. Can she create?
It just feels like once she gets that first one, the floodgates are going to open, and Minnesota's just hoping that first one does not come against them.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, she was a +7 last year, a -6 coming into the game tonight. Through the logo at center, it is the Swiss Miss. She was sometimes called at Northeastern University. She'll chop at it again. Bouncing puck, and now that's going to be played with a high stick.
Looking at the action so far tonight, it was Boston striking first. 3.5 minutes into the game, Hillary Knight able to get the loose puck over to Hannah Bilka right there on the doorstep. Boston feeling good about the early lead. A quick 2-0 tally. Moments later, waved off for Boston, so Minnesota catches a break and turns to Denisa Shishova, pouncing on the rebound there for her first tally of the season. But that was all she wrote in terms of offense here. Both goals coming in the first period and nothing clicking for either team.
Shot from Flaherty in the slot, didn't get through. Broken up by Boston. Sophie Shirley will walk it back through center and drive it in. What are you looking for here late, Alexis?
If you look at the season series between these two teams so far, this is the third matchup, and in the first 2 games, Minnesota had 6 different goal scorers against Boston, whereas Boston only had 2. Now tonight, Bilka's got Boston's goal, Shishova's got Minnesota's goal. But that says a lot to me about the depth of these teams. And Minnesota, the fact that they've had so many different goal scorers against this Boston team, you can lean on maybe any line here to get the job done. Petrie's the only goal scorer against Boston who's not in the lineup here tonight. So a lot of options for Minnesota to maybe get that tie-breaking goal.
Let's go back to last year's playoffs. And Taylor Heisey was the playoff MVP. Boy, was she good against the soon-to-be-named Boston Blue.
Yeah, she turned it on when they needed her the most, and you take a look at what she did against this Boston team back in the playoffs, and she's a big reason Minnesota was able to hang around and take it through 5 games and come away victorious in that one. She started to turn it on late in that Toronto series and never looked back. And she's had another good start to this season. Most of her points have been assists, but she's helped contribute to a lot of Frost goals so far this year as well.
Points in 5 of her 7 games. Did not play against Boston last week. I think she would tell you she's about as close to 100% as she can be without being 100% coming off that illness.
Well, and Coach Ken Clay told us that the last game against New York, which she did play in, you know, you asked him, what was she, 50%? He kind of shrugged his shoulders and said probably less than 50, which says a lot about Taylor Heisey's character, that she wanted to be out there and play. And she didn't play a full game in the sense of time on ice. Her minutes were definitely cut back, but she did her best to hang around in that one and is trying to make an impact here today as well, feeling much better than she was the other night.
Product of Lake City, Minnesota. Down on the Mississippi River, south of St. Paul here. Under 6 minutes to go. Who's going to get the next one? Could be the game winner. Stretch pass out of the reach of Bilka. It's going to be an icing call against Boston. Again, another face-off.
The team that pulls ahead here, if somebody pulls ahead late, there's no guarantee that we're going to see another tied-up game or an overtime. So we'll see if anyone can find a way to get that go-ahead goal here late in the third period. It might be the one that wins the game.
23-14, Minnesota winning the face-offs tonight. Boston just won that last one, but that could be a factor here late. Some late game draws in front of the goaltenders. This face-off so important.
Especially when you take fatigue into consideration, face-offs and winning or losing them.
Backhand on for Kava. And Soderberg very steady. Shepers keeps it in deep. Morin will jump on it for Boston. Kind of a soft pass, turned it over. Now Shepard's a drive. And up into the mesh, off the body of Soderberg. And, you know, Toronto had such a good season last year. And then Natalie Spooner was the scoring champ. They've been without her all season because of that knee injury. One of the reasons they've had a tough start.
Yeah, it might be the biggest reason that they've had such a tough start. When you're missing a player like that in the lineup, it really affects the way you play the game. A big leader as well, and not that you can't lead, you know, from the sidelines, but it's much different when you don't have a player like that out on the ice. And Toronto hurting a little bit early here.
And of course, Montreal always dangerous. Right now, 14 points. Same as Minnesota, but they have a game in hand on the Frost.
And depending on how this one shakes out for Minnesota, that game against Montreal on Sunday, and how Montreal's game shakes out tonight, that could really affect what the standings look like come the end of the week, as they'll face off against each other in Denver. So we could see some shifting and moving around before the week is done.
Holding, shot. Rooney saw it the whole way. No rebound. And some words out in front of the blue paint. We've seen that a few times tonight.
Well, and I love how Rooney just slides to the left and says, I'm just going to remove myself from the situation. I'll let everyone else take care of this business. That shot by Shea Maloney comes through. Shirley's out front, Mueller's out front, and Rooney hangs on. Maloney, if you remember, earlier in the game had that goal taken away from her for goaltender interference, so she's looking to get on the scoreboard for real this time, but Rooney able to shut the door.
Man, could these teams be headed to extra time again? And how about Boston? It seems like that's the only kind of game they've been in lately.
Yeah, the other night they win in a shootout. And then the game before that against Minnesota, right here at the XL Energy Center, they lose in overtime. So they've definitely gotten their overtime reps in lately, that's for sure.
Next goal could be the highlight goal of the night. Jammed off the wall. This is going to bounce back into the Boston end.
If Boston can pick up 3 here tonight, that's another step in the right direction for them. If Minnesota can pick up 3, they get a little bit of separation from Montreal, at least for now, depending on how that game goes for Montreal tonight. So, 2 different reasons these teams are playing for 3 points tonight.
Another win in the circle for Minnesota. Shishaba lugs it to center. As it's taken out first stick by Hannah Brandt at the Boston blue line. Fed a pass ahead. Schaffsel kind of got spun around. Steckline grabs it, feeds it across for Batherson. Tried to spring Kava, but she was double teamed at the blue line.
And she obviously couldn't get a head start there at the blue line because she had to avoid offside, and so she couldn't separate from the defender.
Now here's Kava onside. She'll take it to the middle. Feeds it down, gets a return pass. Shot goes over the top of the net. That's one of the best scoring chances Minnesota's had in a while.
Well, the pass down low was maybe not the best option, but somehow they still found a way to make it work, and Kava just fires one wide. One of the better looks we've seen late in this game.
Picked off up the middle. Here's Heising. Oh, good job by Hillary Knight. A couple of all-stars there battling, and Hillary Knight just took it away from Taylor. Tapani gets it to the D. Bard trying to advance it out of the zone, and she does. And now we've got a face-up.
Kava's had a great game. She's had a couple of looks here tonight that have been quality chances or been involved in some quality plays. She was our player to watch at the start of the game, and she's definitely been noticeable in this one. Could be part of the difference-making goal if Minnesota is the team that scores it.
Yeah, she's been around the net a lot in recent games, even though she has no goals in the last 5. 6 if you count this one. 90 seconds to go in regulation. Boston breaks out of the zone. Shea Maloney rings the end boards. Sophie Shirley trying to turn it toward the front. She's tied up. Sheppers is there. Steckline is there for Minnesota. Comes to the stick of Alina Mueller. Didn't have it long. Greco sends it toward the net, well wide. As we approach a minute to go. Here's Tapani, tried to hand off in the circle. Peshova a drive. That was tipped wide. Will this one be decided late in regulation? And battle along the wall. The officials just letting it go on. No face-off. Now Thompson gets it over to Himralova. Minnesota works it free to center. Boston takes it back, swept in. Tapani will get it over to the far wing corner. Under 30 seconds to go here in regulation. Moore in a drive, broken up by McQuigg, didn't get through. 15 seconds to go. There's a one-timer by Morin. I'm not sure Rooney got a piece of it. It hit somebody else, I think.
Yeah, and deflected to the other side of the net, and Minnesota able to pick it up and clear it out.
Rooney's going to have to handle one more. She'll make the stop. That does it in regulation, and we're going to 3-on-3 overtime. Well, for the second time in 6 days, Boston, Minnesota going to overtime.
Well, the last time that this happened, Britta Curl with the magic in OT, final seconds of overtime, completely gassed, heavy legs. And she's able to put Minnesota on top in that one. We'll see if Minnesota has the same magic today or if Boston can get the last laugh this time around.
You know, and Claire Thompson, that great defensive play on the back check, laying out to spring that opportunity for Curl. And she was able to end the game. So 3-on-3 in this overtime. If it isn't decided in the OT, we're going to a shootout. A lot of open ice. There is Thompson. Gives it to the alternate captain, Kelly Panic. Feeds it back for Claire. She'll regroup now back out at center.
That's smart play. No need to force it in overtime. Take your time and get the look you want.
Alina Mueller takes a swat at it. Thompson has to gather it back up. Here's a good lead pass. Kava with Heisey. Kava looking for the wraparound. Heisey trying to jam at it. Soderberg, great stop. Kept her eyes on it the whole time.
And that was the right play by Kava. She didn't have a great angle by the time she got down the ice, and so she tries the wraparound, and Heisey camps out front, maybe hoping for a rebound or a bounce.
Now Megan Keller comes in, pulls up in the circle, trying to drop it back for Bilka. Bilka gets slid off the puck by Heisey, no penalty. And the officials haven't called a lot of penalties tonight. 3 against Boston. You know, I can't imagine they're going to just be blowing the whistle now here 3-on-3.
Well, it's pretty rare to see a penalty called in overtime unless it's blatant or egregious, so I wouldn't hold your breath on that one.
Hannah Brandt, left wing to the middle. Holding. Brandt feeds it to DiGirolamo up top. And they're going to have to come back to center. Shea Maloney goes all the way back to her own zone.
And great pressure by Shishova at the blue line to force it out.
And here comes Maloney. Shot, save. And no rebound for Rooney.
But we play on.
Shea Maloney, a rookie who played in Sweden last year. Very good first year in the PWHL. Coyne Schofield, always one of the fastest players on the ice. On the backhand. Great puck control. Pulls up. Now stapled to the wall by Tapani. Panic supports the puck. And she has it taken away. Back out at center, Boston. And Alina Mueller will feed it back into the Boston zone. 2.5 gone by in this overtime. Mueller left it there. Tapani scoops it up. Tapani moving in. Shot goes high off the glass.
Great stick by Melissa Channel-Watkins.
Bard trying to flip it out in front for Tapani. She was bearing down onto the Minnesota net. Channel-Watkins right in front of that Minnesota bench. Changes directions, lost the puck. Under 2 minutes to go in the OT. Here's Bilka again. She got the first one for Boston tonight. Can she get the game winner? Shot and the save. And the rebound is cleared by Minnesota.
Seeing some great looks here in this overtime frame.
Heisey. Slot. Shot. She scores! Taylor Heisey. Game winner in overtime. Third overtime win this year for the Minnesota Frost. They're back in first place. 2 on the final in OT. We hope you're going to enjoy that Montreal-Toronto game, which is getting ready to start in Vancouver as part of the TakeOver Tour. For Alexis Pearson and Audra Martin, I'm Clay Matvick, saying so long from downtown St. Paul. The Frost win it in OT.